Let's watch a little bit of Bernie video because you know what? We need to hear some good stuff. This is Bernie Sanders going on the Midas Touch. I don't know if he's ever been on Midas Touch before, so let's check out a little bit of this interview.
Bernie Sanders, Senator, tell us about your Fight the Oligarchy tour where you're traveling to reddish and purplish areas and just speaking to the people and speaking
Night,
to
Tammy.
workers.
Appreciate you.
Well, the goal of the tour is to go to areas where there are Republican congressmen and women who won by slim margins and educate the people in those districts to demand that their member of Congress not vote for huge tax breaks for billionaires, while at the same time support cuts to Medicaid, education, and health care. So the goal is to make sure that we do not pass a terrible, what is called a reconciliation.
Is anybody else doing this? Is anybody else doing this? Or is it just Bernie? Because that's a fucking phenomenal idea. To go out to these places where you know that they have a very slim majority and to say to people, look, you voted for this guy because he was a Republican. You voted for him because you thought he was going to be the best person to handle the issues that you think are the most important. Can I explain to you why he's actually going to make your life worse and your wife worse as well? That's amazing. See, this is what I'm talking about. When we talk about the people we voted for, like doing their job, we don't mean just giving speeches on Congress floors. Like, we're not just saying showing up to vote. Like, that's insinuated that you will do those things. But just like any other job that you ever have, when you got the job and you want to show people that you're good at the job, you do more than what's expected of you. You show everybody that they made the best decision by putting you in place to be this leader. Like, is anybody else doing this? I doubt it. Even the people I like, I doubt it. It's Bernie. Bernie's the one doing it.
Bill. But most
Tim Walz is doing it. You're right. Oxford, you're right.
Bring
Tim Walz is doing
people
it.
together
Yep.
to take on the oligarchs who
AOC,
now run this
what's up,
country, to take on the people who are moving us toward authoritarianism, and to make the point that the overwhelming majority of the American people want to see a government and an economy that works for all and not just a few.
One of the most powerful moments, we've been covering these speeches that I see, and we've covered your speech in Warren.
And thank you so much for doing that. I really do appreciate that.
Oh, it's
Yeah, and nobody else is. Where is this shit on mainstream media? They're afraid to let you know that Bernie is fucking popular. They're afraid to let you know that Bernie's gaining steam again. And this is a criticism of the left that I do agree with, is that I think since the Red Scare, the left is very afraid of being attached in any way, shape, or form to what is considered socialistic values. Now, mind you, there's a difference between socialistic values and straight up fucking communism. But even with that being said, Bernie Sanders is immensely popular with everyday people. Once they know him, once they meet him, and once they hear his ideas. And I think a lot of this media is afraid to cover him. This is why this is like the third week in a row I think I've had Bernie on the show. I had a video of Bernie on the show, is because I really, really want to concentrate more on voices that are important. I want more Jasmine Crockett on my videos. I want more Bernie Sanders on my videos. I want more Jamie Raskin on my videos. I want the people that are actually doing the job, getting the spotlight, however small it may be on my channel, that they deserve. And Ben Meiselas obviously doing a great fucking job because his spotlight is huge.
It's what people want. People want people like you who are fighting and who are listening. And there's a part in your speech where you ask the people in the crowd, what's it like to live paycheck to paycheck? And people share what they're experiencing with you. Talk to us about that, Senator.
Well, that was an extraordinary moment. And here is the reality, which is not talked about very much. The reality is that in America today, our life expectancy is about 4 years less than other wealthy countries.
Yep.
But even
Canada.
Worse is the fact that if you're working class in America, on average, you live 7 to 8 years shorter life than people who are wealthy. Now, why is that?
Yeah.
And the answer is not just healthcare, which is important. Working class people, low income people do not have
Education,
access to the
transportation,
kind of healthcare that the rich do. But it is the stress,
job opportunities,
the day-to-day stress that working class people live under.
Thank you, fan. Thank you, fan. 20 memberships, fan. I wish gifting memberships wasn't random. It would be better if you could click on the tab, take one if you want one. That would be pretty dope. And it'd also create like a little bit of a free-for-all, which would be kind of like Fall Guys, like watching Fall Guys. Call Bernie and ask him for an interview on stream. That's on my list. It is on my list. I want to get a hold of AOC. I want to get a hold of Bernie. I have had enough podcasts now with interviews to feel like I think that I can possibly reach out to other people. I think I have like 15 episodes now, so I'm going to try to do that. Thank you so much, fan. Thank you so much. You guys are truly like fucking the best people ever, and like the army that you guys are creating is fucking amazing. I can't tell you, I can't put into words like how special it is to me to see so many people with a membership to my channel, like like that's crazy to me. So thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and I love you guys for everything you guys do. And I hope to God that I live up to you guys' expectations as well. So I appreciate you guys a ton.
And I grew up in a working class home. I know a little bit about what it's like to have a family living paycheck to paycheck. And what I did, that was in Altoona, Wisconsin. I said, okay, all right, tell me what it's like to live under economic stress. And people just stood up. And one woman says, it's a question of whether I buy shoes for myself or my kids, whether I can afford eyeglasses, whether I can afford to go to the doctor, whether, I'm going to have the money to prepare a decent meal for my kids. That I live every day not knowing, what to expect. How do I survive? And what that is about, that is the reality that tens of millions of our people are living under. We don't talk about it.
Tens of millions, probably hundreds. I mean, fucking, what percentage of our country is poverty-stricken? And even that being said, even poverty-stricken, look, the reality is that the middle class is now the working poor. Middle class is no longer the middle class. Middle class is working poor. And upper middle class is now middle class. So as an upper middle class person, you might be lucky to take a vacation a year. You might, if you're really, really lucky and you don't want to have any money in your savings account, you could take 2 vacations a year. But if you're a middle class person, which is now the working poor, you legit don't have the time to be able to raise a family and have money to continue to provide yourself with just like the normal comforts that you want to have, so that way you can like live like a happy enough life and be able to go on vacation. And you definitely don't have enough money to have the money to go on vacation and then also be able to save money as well. And it's fucking insane to me that people can hear Bernie Sanders talk and be like, these are extreme ideas. It's also insane to me to think that anybody that is living paycheck to paycheck could be a conservative, because they don't in any way, shape, or form believe in any type of social safety net that would lead to your life getting better. They don't believe that you have a right to any type of basic human needs. At the end of the day, they think that whatever you're doing, you're fucking up because you can't be successful in this society. And somebody like Bernie Sanders is literally saying to you, hey, if you guys were to vote for not just me, but just anybody that had the same values as I do, we would work to make sure that you had a good, happy, healthy life where you had the basic human needs. And hopefully even we could provide for you some way for you to enjoy your life and potentially retire and fucking, have some time to spend on this fucking one trip on this earth that actually means something. That's fucking crazy to me. It's crazy to me.
And what I have learned over the years, that some of the most important issues are the issues that get least discussion. And one of those issues, it's not just the working class people live 6 years shorter lives, 7 years shorter lives than the rich. That's important. Why is that? But what's equally important is 60% of the American people in the richest country on earth live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
That means they go to work.
Somebody just said that in chat.
And
too.
if their landlord raises the rent, they don't know how they're going to be able to pay for it. Kid gets sick, don't know how to afford to send the kids to the doctor. Car breaks down, don't know how to get it fixed, etc., etc. That is the reality facing tens of millions of Americans in the wealthiest country on earth. And that is the issue that we got to focus on. And that is why we got to transform our economy so that it works for everybody, not just billionaires.
I heard one person in the crowd even say psychological torture. It feels like we're being tortured by these oligarchs.
Yeah. And to double down on that, look, I know Joe Biden wasn't an exciting president. I know that some of you are going to disagree with Joe Biden's foreign policy. I understand that. But the one thing that you can say is that during Joe Biden's presidency, he wasn't causing something to happen every single day of your life. You want to talk about psychological torture? Think about what's going on right now with Donald Trump. And there's a lot that I would say is part of the plan. There's a lot that, I hear the people say he's intentionally exhausting people. He's intentionally doing these things. I only half-ass agree with that. I think it's Donald Trump's ego. I think Donald Trump needs to be in the news every day of the fucking year. Not specifically because it's a plan. I think part of it's planned. But because he needs that. He needs the attention. He doesn't want to feel as though people don't know he's still around. And that's like truly the psychological torture. Because most Americans, whether or not you're political or not, don't want to constantly be involved in politics every day of their life. Most of us that are currently here today are only here today because Donald Trump drug us into this. This isn't what I did for years. This isn't, it's important that I'm involved and I'm educated and I'm more literate, politically literate about these things, and that's a good thing. But there was times during Biden's administration where I had a week where there wasn't much for me to do. There wasn't much for me to talk about. Because, for forever it was just people talking about Israel Hamas, right? Like it was like that's the only thing to talk about, so they talked about it. Over and it was very important to talk about, but also, like that was how politics is supposed to be done. During Clinton, during Obama, even during Bush. For the most part, you're not supposed to know what the president is thinking every single day or multiple times a day. So when we talk about psychological torture, it's not just the fact that people live paycheck to paycheck and they know that if their car breaks down, they might lose their job. If they lose their job, they might lose their health care. If they have a child, they don't know where the money's going to come from, how they're going to pay for their kid, how they're going to get the kid to school. Like, not just that psychological torture, but then you're adding onto it this fucking egregious, like, narcissist that can't stop fucking making you aware of his existence. So you're doubling down on this psychological torture. I can't stand these people because I genuinely think they're so fucking selfish, so narcissistic that they don't think they've taken enough from you. They want to continue to sap your very fucking life energy from you. Why? Because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel important. I can't stand them.
You tell me. I mean, this is not hard to understand. I grew up in a family that went through this. If your car breaks down and you can't afford to get it fixed, how do you get to work? And if you can't get to work, you lose your job. If you lose your job, what happens?
He's gone through the same thing I just said. Yep.
People struggle every single day, and that impacts the doctors. There are physicians out there who call this the physiology of poverty. Physiology of poverty. Your body reacts, your mind. The stress of just trying to survive every single day breaks the mind, breaks the body. And that is why, people are living shorter lives who are working class.
And you know what else? It causes mass psychosis. If you don't know what mass psychosis is, you should look it up. But this constant need to live on the edge of wondering where your next, issue is going to come from, what's the next thing that could cause you to possibly lose your loved one, or have something happen to your child, or to possibly lose your job or have a health scare. All of those things lead to mass psychosis. And I genuinely believe, I know that I get on here, I know I talk a lot of shit, I know I mock people, I make fun of stuff, but in all seriousness, I do believe that MAGA is a mental illness. I do believe that COVID and Donald Trump's incessant presence has broken these people's minds. When you live under a idea of constant fear, constantly worried about immigrants stealing, constantly worried that immigrants are ruining the country, constantly worried that LGBT people are grooming your children, constantly worried that there's pedos in Hollywood, constantly worried about all of these things, then you add on to that what's going on with Trump constantly coming in and out with tariffs on, tariffs off, all the things that he's doing, depleting the stock market, and then you add in just regular life as well. That leads to mass psychosis, because you get to a point where your mental is not strong enough to handle this type of adversity on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of these people are people that, though they might not have grown up in like the best possible places, they've never encountered adversity on this level where it's constantly just the fear is on the edge of their vision. It's just right there. It's just out of their peripheral. And at any moment it could jump in and take everything that they love. That leads to a mental break. No one can live under those conditions and be a mentally healthy person. I'm currently reading a book on COVID now, about the way COVID was handled, and it's a pretty good book so far. It's handling the COVID crisis in the most bipartisan way I think I've seen before, and we'll be having an interview with that author as well at the end of March. But I genuinely believe that, and like I said, I know that people will say, like, it's a cop-out, no, they're just evil people, they're just bad people. I genuinely believe that these people broke. I don't think... I've seen too many people, personally, that I knew as a different person that is completely different now, that is completely obsessed with conspiracy theory, completely obsessed with the need for Donald Trump to be in charge. That it's got to be mental illness.
Than the wealthy.
Yeah,
and
Chinese
this
sleeper
is an
cells,
issue
all
that we've
shit,
got to deal with.
And Senator, so many people, though, voted against their interest or voted against their unions. And, we were doing our best to try to cover what Trump and Musk were saying. Let me just show you what they were saying during the campaign. This was out there, yet people who were in unions, workers, voted for this. I mean, I think they were deceived what this is, and I want to get your take on it. But here, let's play this clip where Trump praises Musk during the campaign for firing workers who were striking for better pay and working conditions. Let's play it.
This Cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in.
That's just a slur.
You want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But, if you look at Argentina.
Yep. It's just like the IRS people that got fired that are like, well, it's crazy. I'm a Trump voter. I voted for Trump and he fired me and I work for the IRS. Veterans that voted for Trump. He's not pro-veteran. There's nothing about this guy that should make you feel as though he's the person that is going to fix any of the problems unless you're legit mentally ill. And one of the things I want to point out to you guys, too, about this show, I've said it throughout the time I've been here. I'm your emotional support animal, right? Like, when you guys come and watch this show, I don't ever want you guys to constantly be afraid. I don't want you guys to constantly fear. I want you guys to laugh. I want you guys to hear a good message. I want you to find ways to find hope. I want you guys to understand that, like, no matter what, man, end of the fucking day, you got one chance at this shit. You're going to live it the way you can, regardless of whether or not Trump is the fucking president or Kamala is the president. Like, what is it? Either, die on your feet or what is it? Or, die on your feet or live on your knees. Like, that's been my mentality my whole life, is like, You put your head down, you walk through the fucking storm, you know? Like, you need to get to where you're going, then you fucking get that shit done. And, you know, I'm not interested in breaking people mentally so that way I can control them. I'm interested in seeing people raise up and get to watch and enjoy people's individual success. One of the reasons that I enjoy being a manager, one of the reasons I enjoy being a leader, is getting to see people's life cycle, see them go from being young people that don't realize their potential, don't understand what they can do, how successful they can be, and watch them become more confident people, watch them become stronger. And then, you know, at certain times say, hey, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to go accomplish something, do something else. This isn't the place for you. This place is going to hold you back. And I've said this before, is that I still follow some of my employees on Instagram and Facebook and other social media, and watching them succeed in life is one of my greatest joys. So it doesn't make sense to me. It just seems like such an evil thing to do, to want to break people so you can control them, because there's no happiness in that. There's no, you don't get anything good from that. You get good feelings from watching other people succeed.
You would love it. You'd be good. So what's going on here? How come people voted for that and now that happened?
Let me comment two ways. Number one, of course, what you're seeing precisely is that attitude now being reflected in what Musk is doing to the federal government.
Yeah.
Oh, you work for the federal government for 20 years? You're gone. We don't need you anymore. You have a poor performance. Who determined that? Well, I did. I never met you. I never saw you. I never talked to you. You're gone. So that is precisely what they're doing.
Yeah,
and I want to
lie?
say this. I know there are people out there who say, well, you know, it's really unfortunate what's happening to these federal employees. People like Musk are great believers in technology, artificial intelligence, and robotics. And when that revolution sweeps across the private sector and threatens the jobs of tens of millions of workers, you know what the Musks of the world are going to say? You're out of here. Have a nice day. Goodbye. They could care less about what happens to working people. But to answer your question more deeply, why did people vote for Trump? Which is a good question. Why do many working class people vote for Trump? The answer has, I think, less to do, to be honest with you, with Trump and Musk than it does with the Democratic Party.
Yep.
And in my view, you have a Democratic Party which over the years has been very strong and effective, I think, in fighting for women's rights, terribly important, fighting for gay rights, fighting for civil rights, all of which is important. But in terms of standing up and taking on powerful special interests and fighting for the working class, Democrats were not there. And I hope you know, and I think many of your listeners may know, that unbelievably, it's not just that we have today massive income and wealth inequality, where 3 people on top own more wealth than the bottom half of American society. The reality, the economic reality of today is that over the last 50 years, 50 years, real inflation accounted for wages, despite huge increases in worker productivity, have not gone up.
Yep.
Workers are making the same, maybe a little bit less than they were 50 years ago. And during that time, there was a $75 trillion transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. So the average worker out there says, yeah, I hear the Democrats, they're this, they're that. Do they understand what I am going through?
Yeah.
Do they understand that I used to have a decent job in manufacturing that's gone, and now I'm making half as much as I used to? Do they understand that I can't afford health care, I can't afford child care, can't afford to send my kids to college, that I'm working 50 or 60 hours a week, that my wife is working? Do they really understand it? And the answer is no, they don't.
Yeah. And you know the prime example of that? It's Chuck Schumer with his glasses on the end of his nose telling everybody what he thinks is right. Look, there's times in my life as a person that's in his mid-40s that I'm out of touch. I need the help of younger people. I need to understand better what's important to them and I need to have their point of view, right? And if I look down my nose at the younger generation, then I'm going to miss out on opportunities to both be a better person, but also to live a fuller life. The Democrats, by giving away positions to lifelong Democrats because they've been in the business longer, rather than giving those positions to young, motivated, impassioned people, are making a huge mistake. Because those people, AOC, one of the things that people love about AOC is how in touch with her voters she is. Because she knows how to use Instagram. Because she knows how to read a chat and say fucking, like, I love you people. You know, thank you so much for being here. Do you think Chuck Schumer knows fucking one thing about how to talk to a chat on a stream? Do you think Chuck Schumer even knows how to turn on Instagram and fucking have his face? And I know I'm shitting on Chuck Schumer a lot right now. But, you know, there's enough to go around. There are plenty of people on the left, including Kamala Harris's fucking campaign manager, who said, you know how you win? You win by playing between the 45s. Please, sir, please go play in traffic. Please. Because you're holding back the Democratic Party if you think the way that you win this shit is by playing between the 45s. Because right now the Republicans have stolen the fucking ball and they're playing between your 20 and your end zone. Okay? They've got the ball on the other side of the field about to score, playing a completely fucking different game than your old, out-of-touch ass. If you want to win, you better start talking to people that are more in touch with what the fuck is going on now. Because he's right. The working class. You need a working class person. You need somebody on the left that can speak to lower middle class people. You know, one of the reasons I thought that, like, my voice mattered was because I come from the trailer park. I feel like I can talk to people. I specifically think I can talk to people that are lower middle class, that are impoverished. I can say, I've been homeless. I've eaten government cheese. You guys know what I'm talking about? Government cheese. We all know that's like a fucking special secret word, okay? If you've ever been poor in your life, you know about government cheese. And there's a bonding to that. There's something that says, this person has lived a life experience that parallels mine. You can't win as the Democratic Party the way it is right now. How many videos have we watched now? 4. The only one that probably hasn't said that was the Humanist Report video, because it's talking more about the deportation of the man's wife. But every video we're watching, there's a very similar theme right now. And that is, it's time for the Democrats to go back to the drawing board. It's time for them to stop shutting out people like Bernie Sanders and AOC. I guarantee that behind the scenes, someone like Jasmine Crockett is probably not all that accepted. To us, we watch Jasmine Crockett and we go, how would you not love this queen? But behind closed doors, I guarantee you, the Chuck Schumers of the world, they look at Jasmine Crockett and go, it'd be great if you could tone it down a little bit. You're making us look bad. Meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert's giving a hand job off in the corner, and the right are going, keep that shit up. They love it. They eat that shit up. They got to do something different.
So, to my mind, the reason that Trump did so well with working people is he said, look, the system is broken. And Democrats said, well, not really. We need a little bit of changes.
Yep.
Trump is right. The system is broken. The problem is
exposed it.
His quote unquote solutions are going to make a bad situation even worse. Is the system broken? Yes. Are you living in a democracy today? Well, maybe.
Maybe.
But we have a corrupt campaign finance system,
good cheese, Max,
which gives you one vote, but Elon Musk the ability to spend $270 million to elect Donald Trump as the next president. That's a broken anti-democratic campaign finance system. We have a healthcare system where despite spending twice as much per capita on healthcare as any other country, 85 million are uninsured or underinsured. The cost of healthcare is soaring. We don't have doctors, nurses, mental health counselors, dentists. Is our healthcare system working well? No, it is broken. Is our educational system working well? No. Nobody can afford childcare. Hugely expensive. Kids are going deeply into debt to get a higher education. That system is broken. What about housing? Well, we've got 800,000 people who are homeless, but that's only half the problem. There are 20 million people who are spending 50% of their limited incomes on housing. I talk to people in Vermont trying to bring in a teacher from out of state. They signed up a good teacher. Teacher couldn't come because the cost of housing was so high. True in Vermont, true all over this country. So the system is broken for working class, for the middle class, for low income people. For the people on top, they're doing fantastically well. So what the Democratic Party has to do is understand that reality, can't keep defending the status quo, and say, you know what, we are prepared to take on the oligarchs who have so much economic and political power. We are prepared to take them on and create an economy that works for working people, not just the 1%.
And so what does that look like to you once you have...
Yeah, because I was going to say, it's not enough. The left has spent too much time saying they'll do these things, and then when they get into office, they get thwarted because, as Jon Stewart said, it's like Obama gets to the end of his presidency, tries to push through a Supreme Court justice, and Mitch McConnell's like, no, that's not going to happen. Trump gets to the end of his presidency, tries to push through a Supreme Court justice. Democrats go, hey, remember when you guys did it? And the fucking right's like, we don't give a fuck. We're going to push it through anyways. So it's, like I said, part of it is that the Democrats have to grow a fucking spine. They need people that are willing to break the status quo. They need people, specifically young people, because that's where the passion comes from. That's where the fight comes from. They need people that are going to say, look, get us into office and watch what the fuck happens. And I'll tell you what, if I don't get shit done, you don't ever have to vote for me again. Because I'm that fucking confident. You put me in office, I'm going to get shit done.
Have the descriptive and you recognize the prescriptive is we have to take on the oligarchy. Look, I think you're leading the way right now, speaking to workers across the country. And so maybe just speak to anybody who's listening right now. We've got a pretty big audience here, and to the American people. What does that fight look like now where MAGA controls the executive branch, both houses in Congress? What does the fight look like?
It means that this is a critical and unprecedented moment in American history. It means that despair is not an option. And it means that you got to stand up and fight back, not only for yourselves, but for your kids, and in terms of climate change, for the future of the planet. So what does that mean? It means you got to get out of your zone of comfort. It means you must be involved in the political process. And that means maybe running for school board, running for city council, running for state legislature, or supporting good candidates who are prepared to stand up for the working class. It means right now, when we're facing a major Republican reconciliation bill, which wants to give over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and cut Medicaid and education, it means making sure that your member of Congress does not vote for that terrible piece of legislation. And by and large, it means in any way that you think is effective, get involved in the political process. The truth of the matter is that what goes on in Washington is way, way, way out of touch with where the American people are. The American people don't think billionaires need a tax break. American people don't want to cut Medicaid. The American people are sick and tired of paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, of being the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people, of having the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, a nation in which 22% of seniors are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. In other words, the American people do not support the status quo. But what we have got to do is educate and organize and get people involved in whatever way works for them in the political process. And ultimately, We need to create a government with members of Congress who are standing proudly with the working class and not with the 1% and campaign contributors. That's what it means.
Where does the Fight the Oligarchy tour go next?
We're going to be in Las Vegas on Thursday. And then we are going to Denver, Colorado. And then we're going to be in Greeley, Colorado. And then we're going to be in Arizona, both in Phoenix and in Tucson. And already I'm told by my staff that we have some 20,000 RSVPs for the rally in Denver, which will, I think, be the largest rally, which is kind of off the charts. But the turnout looks like it's very good. I'm going to be going
hearing Bernie say
with my good friend, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who I think, as everybody knows, has been an inspiration for young people all over this country. She's a real fighter. She's doing a great job in the House. So it's an honor to be hitting the road with Alexandria.
It's an honor to have you here on the Meidas Touch podcast. Senator Bernie Sanders will be covering all of those rallies here. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
That's dope. And you know what? Here's the thing. I said this when Trump was elected. I said, you really have a choice at this point. You can be apathetic. You can claim exhaustion. You can check out. Or you can take a page out of the MAGA supporters book, and you can start now and not stop for 4 straight fucking years of speaking up and making sure people hear your voice. Because there's a lot about MAGA that I don't understand. But the one thing that I understand as being something that worked was they never stopped talking about Donald Trump being cheated. They never stopped. They weren't apathetic. They weren't exhausted. They didn't go away. They didn't take time off, to be fucking honest with you. These fucking nut jobs. But in the end, whether or not it was, at the upper levels of Congress and people in states getting people purged from voter rolls, whether it was, in some way fixing the system so that way Trump could win, or whether it was people constantly spreading misinformation and disinformation, they never stopped doing that. And what Bernie is doing right now, what AOC is doing right now, is what I'm talking about. There's no time. If you're a congressperson, if you're a senator, if you're a local politician, there's no time. You don't get to just sit back and let things happen and just figure out what's going to, well, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, we'll see. No, that's your fucking job. Your job is to get on the road, go find fucking people that are disillusioned with what Trump's been doing, and say, we could make this better if you want to. We can make this good for everybody if you want to. But we got to do better next time. So that's what's got to happen. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. And check out that video on the screen now.